In Newark, New Jersey right now, people have erected a 700-pound statue of George Floyd. George Floyd. There is now a monument and a memorial to George Floyd. People are taking photos with it, like he's a hero, like he's a saint. George Floyd was an unreformed career criminal who robbed pregnant women at gunpoint. He held a gun to a pregnant woman while his buddies robbed her. He died while resisting arrest for committing another crime. It's not even like, look, St. Paul was a murderer. People turned their lives around. This guy didn't. He was killed under these dubious circumstances and in a very, very problematic trial where you had political pressure all the way up to the President of the United States and threats of riots from congressmen. Eventually, they convicted him of murder, but I suspect they're going to have quite a lot to talk about on the appeal. But even so, sure, dubious circumstances, no question about it, lots of questions. The whole reason George Floyd was on the ground is because he asked to be taken out of the cop car. Why did he ask to be taken out of the cop car? Unclear. He was obviously very high on drugs at the time. But even the claim that the cop callously refused to get off of him, off of his neck, and then we learned it was actually also his shoulders, when he said, "I can't breathe," is because he was saying, "I can't breathe," before the cop ever really even touched him. I'm not saying that we know that this was a justified arrest. We know exactly how he died. We really don't. Even though the court ruled, we know that there was a lot of pressure on that court, a lot of irregularities. But even so, let's say it was a totally unjustified killing. Let's say the guy was murdered. You erect a statue of an unreformed criminal? You only do that in a culture that values grievance and racial resentment over virtue, sanctity, holiness, patriotism, courage, all of these sorts of things. Absolutely insane. But it's why it's happening now. This is the other point I make on the Juneteenth national holiday. If this is really just, oh, this is a great thing, we're just celebrating this holiday, it's been around for forever, it's been around for 100 years. I mean, no one's ever heard of it, but no, it's been around for so long, and what, you never heard of Juneteenth? Yeah, okay. Why now? Why is there this big push right now? Do you think it has to do with remembering the glories of the Union troops and Abraham Lincoln? Or do you think it has more to do with the racial resentment narrative that has cropped up and that has actually exploded, literally, onto the streets of our country, burning down city after city, notably during the BLM riots of 2020? What do you think it's more about? What do you think it's more about? Actually, I know what it's about, because people say, why are holidays created? Columbus Day was created in part for the 400th anniversary of the great explorer, in part because Italians the previous year had been the victims of the largest mass lynching in American history. So it was in part to seem to make amends to Italians. And I suspect that's what's going on here. It's to make amends to black people in America. What will this accomplish? What will it do? What is the amends specifically for? I suspect not a whole lot has changed in the last several decades. I suspect what it's for is this canard of the epidemic of systemic white racism and the cops and the killers and the white supremacy is the greatest threat to America, whatever Merrick Garland told us. It's a false narrative that's being pushed, and Republicans, sadly, going along with it. Hey, I'm glad you liked that video. There's a whole show, though. There's a whole episode that you could watch here on YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell, you'll get the notifications. Or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Google Mail, AIM, Zanga, LiveJournal, I don't know, it's all over the place. The Michael Knowles Show. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review. We'll see you there.